Okay, so here we are, still at the Kasset intersection.
Yes, just right after the protesters gone.
Right, we are right in front of the university, as you can see here. This is not metaphorical of my future, okay? This is just the gate to the university. Now, something just occurred to me, right? In Thailand, we like to have สภาเคลื่อนที่
สภาเคลื่อนที่
คณะรัฐมนตรีเคลื่อนที่
Parliament. Oh,
roaming
okay.
parliament, roaming
Roaming
cabinet,
cabinet.
which was started
Okay.
by Thaksin Shinawatra way back then. But then everyone does it. General
Okay.
Prayut also does it. You know,
Really?
roaming parliament,
To be
roaming
close to the
cabinet,
people?
to be close to the people.
Or to be far from the mob.
That too, but he was doing it before the mob. So we're doing this roaming disrupt basically at
yes,
different
yes,
protest sites. We were on the street sitting down doing this show. We
For
were
several days already. How
for
many
several
days?
days.
Since what?
At least 3 episodes so far.
Yes, yes. We've been missing our studio a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little
Last
bit.
time we were in front of a row of pubs with the smoking and drinking all around, and today we are at the gate in front of
เกษตร
Kasset
ศาสตร์
University, and people are looking at us, smiling. This lady is looking at me, thinking, should I ask him to get out of the way so she can take a picture with you?
Yeah, some people take picture of Thisrupt in action.
No, of you, not of me. Right, now let's just introduce the topic of today.
Yes.
We named this episode I Hear Too. Not I Hear Too, that would be rude. I Hear Too. Because I
Again,
Hear Too
not
would
I
be
hear
wrong.
too.
Right?
Not
That
I
would be
hear.
wrong. Even though the protesters
Yes.
would be chanting something else. Now, I was commenting on the Facebook Live earlier. Every protest, we hear this slogan. And also at each protest, you hear it over and over and over.
Would
They
you like to
start with
give
this.
a
No,
translation?
that's okay. I hear too. They know what it means. The
Yes.
translation basically is very simple. It's simple English. It means ฉันได้ยินด้วย
Can they do it? Not like you bastard.
No, ฉันได้ยินด้วย Just like
I
when
hear
General
you
Prayut
too.
gave that speech at, I believe, some international organization, and afterwards he said to the crowd and point his finger at his ear and said, "Thank you to hear me." So I remember that.
Okay,
That was
you
quite
remember
famous
that.
back then because I made fun of it. And then so does everyone else.
That's a bad part of being a leader of a country.
Right.
If you did something wrong, it will be with you forever. People remember.
And interestingly enough, earlier at the protest, one of the speakers said, what General Prayut has done will be remembered from generation to generation to generation. And also what the protesters are doing
Yes.
will also be remembered from generation to generation to generation. Just like the people
the
today,
legacy.
exactly, just like the people today remember the 6th of October, the 14th of October.
Right. They mentioned that today, right?
Yes, just like we remember Field Marshal Thanom in a certain way, and we remember the students and the civilians in a certain way. And by we, obviously, I don't mean every single Thai person, because the fact is we have a social divide, right?
Right.
And there's a big group of people who think differently.
There are fractions, there's diversity, there's polarization.
But one thing everybody wants, including the protesters, is for this thing to come to an end, for there to be a resolution some way, somehow. This cannot go on forever. The protesters can't do it forever. Thailand cannot go through it forever. Something has got to give. Now, according to you, with your analysis and your insight and your knowledge with the important people who nobody wants to talk to me, something might be happening. Can you share with us about that?
Okay, I just look at the movement from the government. It's like I think they start to think that they cannot just be chilling forever. After the crackdown the other day, when was that? A few days ago.
On the 16th.
Yes, we've seen already a few days in a row already that the protesters can protest freely, can have their activity freely, and then go home without any violence, or not even police on site, inside, or not in uniform at least. And I've heard from some police yesterday that if the police walk past the protester site now, it's not very safe for them anymore because many of them are angry. So they tend to stay away from the protest. That means that the power of the people is already there in the eyes of the authority. Another movement I see interesting is the movement from the Democrat Party. They have issued a statement saying that they would like to propose for the government and the parliament to open up the parliament in a special term to discuss this issue and to find a way out. Number one. Number two is they call for the parliament to pass the constitution amendment, the first stage in principle.
The first stage,
Yes. They already stated that very clearly. And the third one is they want to open up the channel to talk for all parties to come together and talk. So this is the movement from Democrat Party. And being the party with 50 seats in the parliament, I think they have the weight to the government and the government should have to listen.
But if I may be the devil's advocate again, simply put, does anybody still trust what the Democrats have to say? They have flipped and flopped many times already.
Maybe they just want to look good, right? So
Exactly.
You think is the action to look good?
That is one of the questions, right? Politicians, political parties, democratic or not, they tend to flip-flop. They tend to say the things that they're supposed to say at one moment and then change their tune at another moment, right? Both Democrat and Phum Chai Thi said one thing before the election, after the election they said something else, and so on and so forth. So how much weight can we actually put on the Democrat Party to actually get this thing done?
I'm not sure actually, but I think that statement seems better than Phum Chai Thai party. So if you think who is more handsome now, it is Democrat. Just to judge from their statement.
What did Phum Chai Thai say?
Phum Chai Thai said our principle is like we love the nation, the religion, and the monarchy. That's the first one. And then the rest, I think there are two other points. It's not significant enough for me to remember.
But isn't it diplomatic of political parties to have 2 feet on 2 different boats, show their loyalty to the monarchy, but at the same time promise the people to fight for democracy? And as long as they do that, would this democracy thing ever happen?
I think for Phum Chai Thai, it's quite obvious they will take the winner side always, and maybe Democrat as well. But what we have to see is the development from today, and whether or not the government will really go forward with all these proposals we've seen. So far, I've never heard anything from the Palang Pracharat yet. But I think you raised a good point because we actually see the opposite reaction from the government itself, that they have an issue of announcement trying to control the media again. They are setting up a special commission to monitor certain media closely, and they give the threat of closing if not comply. So the government is doing something opposite to what the Democrat is suggesting, I guess. And also they give a threat to close the Telegram. And Telegram is now the backup channel for the protesters to communicate with each other. They have opened a group for the protesters, and now over 100,000 people joining already.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
and the government give the threat to shut that down.
so on the list of most wanted media is the Reporter, Voice TV, the Standard, and Pracha Thai.
Yeah.
Right.
And I hope Thisrupt will not add to the list.
I don't think they even know Thisrupt exists.
You sure?
Yeah, they know, but but
Yeah.
in any case, no matter what the Democrats say or what Phum Chai say, it seems the ball is in the court of General Prayut and also General Prawit. If there's no signal from any of those two, it seems like nothing will give. Especially as we have just described, the signals that we get from them is more and more measures, stricter measures against the protest, and now
Military
also
style, right?
against the media, very military style in the way they do things.
Yes.
Are they in fact quite confident in their position? Are they in fact quite sure that there is no possible way the protesters can do this every day, forever. They have to tire out, they have to be exhausted, they have to go home, and everything goes back to the new normal.
Yeah, what do you think?
What do I think? I am a cynic. I am a pessimist.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that is the plan anyway, anyhow, and to exhaust the public, to arrest, to harass the leaders, but that did not work, obviously, because exactly because the leaders have been arrested and yet the protests have gone bigger. Now, we were talking earlier, one of the important points of today's protest and yesterday was to demand the release of the leaders.
Yes.
Anun Nampa, Penguin Parade, Rung Patsaya, right? Aside from the three core demands.
Yes.
And if that happens, the protest might scale down a bit. Now, earlier this evening, they made an announcement at this protest that both Rung Panasaya and Penguin Parade have been released.
Actually, that's the order to release. Well, I've heard from the radio news saying that because the administration officer went home before the release order came, so they cannot process it, and tonight they still have to sleep there, and tomorrow they'll get the release. I think the government.
May I just comment on that a little bit before you go on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we are making our way and allowing the vendor to go through. So, wait a second. They were supposed to be released on bail tonight, but they are not because of paperwork. Somebody went home first, a civil servant.
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly why the protesters are out here protesting. Is this one of those Thailand-only situations?
I think because of this judicial harassment going on, everybody in the system see people as paperwork. They don't see it as a life, that has to be in jail for another night. No, they don't even care to come back and process it. They treat people like paperwork.
But again, the cynic that I am,
Yeah.
is this actually an oversight, an incompetence, or did they mean to do it?
Or intentionally.
Because after all, this is not just some other cases or some other prisoner held before bail. These are the top protest leaders. Is this another tactic of saying, hey, you know what? No matter what, we can do whatever we want to you?
Right. I think you're quite smart to point that out. Or maybe I'm just stupid.
No, you're smart. Wow.
Okay.
For the record, he wasn't yelling at her, he was yelling at his friends. and
Yeah, but because of the inefficiency of people in the system, I think both ways are quite possible.
no, I mean that's the whole point.
Okay.
There are two perspectives going on here.
Just now I was thinking another thing. I think they have slowly learned though that the military style may not work.
Right.
Because the first day when we have the crackdown, I think that is very unusual of the police. And I think it must be the idea of General Prawit himself, because Prawit has now the role of the director, of the chief to control
Right.
the situation. The chief police is the one who controls the situation according to this emergency decree announcement. But within the announcement, they put one other position on top of this guy, which is the director
Right.
of the chief.
Okay.
And this position is not even stated in the law. It's not a legal position. They just put it there in order for Prawit to have the control, but without accountability. If there's anything go wrong legally, this person will have to take it.
Right.
But Prawit is there to give any order he wants, but without any legal accountability.
So-
and I think because of that wrong decision, it's a mistake on that day that make the protest grow. And he now has learned, and he has to back off. So at the moment, it's no more military style in dealing with the protest site. I think now the police is working in the usual style.
Well, definitely, unlike October 16, there are no more Tochodor, Border Patrol Police. There actually aren't even many plainclothes policemen with my haircut. They are just regular police officers in khaki uniform, and not that many. just standing around, making sure everything is all right. This is what happened. At least this is what I have seen today and also yesterday at the Asok intersection. So things are calming down a bit.
Yes, and I think they are quite afraid of the history, you know, coming back to haunt them. About, I think, over 30 years ago when we had the Bloody May.
Right, 1992.
I remember at that time the officers cannot wear uniform out. They have to keep their uniform in the back. And when they arrive their office, they change into their uniform because it is not even safe for them to mix with the public because of the anger about what they have done.
But okay, that's a good point. However, I would still say that the protest today is very much different from 1992. At least I have yet to see protesters actually intentionally attacking police officers or anyone in uniform. It was the other way around, and any violence from the protesters towards the police have been in retaliation, throwing bottles, throwing glasses on the 16th, but very mild things. So is it also not just because the police are afraid of physical violence, but they're just afraid of agitating for the possibility of violence? Because last night also at the Bang Na intersection protest, remember at the end, the protesters were going home, somebody turned the light off. It went dark, right? It
and
went
they
dark.
claim that it is just system error.
Right, system error, which of course could be. This is Thailand after all.
Okay.
But then the protesters got very angry.
Yes.
They started throwing rocks and bottles at the
police booth.
At the police booth. That happened for a few minutes, and then other protesters calmed everybody down, and everybody went home.
Yes.
That's the extent of the violence. However, when I wake up in the morning, look at my Facebook feeds, and a lot of my friends who are pro-government supporters, and I love them all, by the way, good people. We just have different politics.
Even when they may not love you anymore.
No one loves me anyway. But it's amazing to read the comments about they are rioting, they are looting, they are the one committing violence, so on and so forth.
So they're very sensitive about it.
Right. See, they are so violent. See, this is why the police have to come out. And then I also saw the Facebook Live by the Nation. And it said,
saying the same thing.
It said they used the word Jarachon, rioting. Right? Prachachon Jarachon. The people are rioting at the Bang Na intersection. Now I'm like, whoa.
At the police booth.
And the police booth. Rioting is just a few people throwing rocks.
Yeah.
Right? And it brings back to mind what happened with the Bangkok Post a couple of days ago. Where the word that they used, the protesters hit the BTS, the protesters prevent the BTS from running, and of course that's just caused a whole controversy, which the Bangkok Post made the correction on that. But it seems like the role of the media is quite important in covering all this.
Actually, they shape the future of any political conflict, really.
Right.
Yes, back from the past in the history and even up to now. And I think that's why the government now pay very much attention to the police.
Yeah, and I think everyone is quite glad to see all the medias come out today, despite the threats by the government to close down certain platforms, to not allow certain platforms to do live coverage, so on and so forth.
I think everybody now has learned that if we stand up together, we can all stand up.
Right.
But if we only let a few stand up, they will be knocked down.
I bet the generals miss the old day when before they have to do anything, they just go close down the TV stations, the radio stations, cut the cable, and then that's that. No communication, nothing. No one knows what's going on. But this is the age of the internet, the age of social media. You can't stop the people from knowing what's going on.
As a media profession yourself, do you have anything to share about how you sense the media atmosphere, what people feel, what do they think, and what is their stand now?
Well, as someone who has been covering the protest since the yellow shirt, the red shirt, the Kapoposo, I think what we see in these protests this year with this group is, again, I've said this before, they have shown the way of courage and conviction. And if they continue to come out here, 15, 16, 17 years old kid standing up on the stage, speaking as they do, and the media would be so afraid not to cover it.
Right.
If the media will be so
it
cowed by the
inspire people.
exactly, I think the media, at least the ones that are out here, are also inspired by this. So if you have the courage to come out here, then we have the courage to come out here to cover what's going on and cover what's going on.
So after all, I think we can maintain this kind of momentum up to the point the parliament begins again in the beginning of November. Maybe we can expect something.
Yeah, again, that's the most important thing, right? We tend to focus on these protests, on the slogans, on the I hear too, but the point of everything is parliament session, beginning of November, pushing through a motion to have a referendum on whether or not to amend the constitution. And it's just talking about having a referendum. That's it. That's all.
Yes.
Prayut is not resigning. Constitution is not being rewritten right there. Reforming the monarchy is not happening right then and there. It's simply asking the people, what do you think? Have your vote. A referendum under an atmosphere that is almost democratic, unlike before.
Yeah, it is open door for consideration. And as the Democrat use the word from Democrat is
Right.
like returning the power to the people to draft the constitution again. That means amending the article 256 in order to set up the council for the constitution draft.
Right.
That is the aim.
And whether or not you want the constitution amended, the institution reform, let's just have it out in the referendum. Everybody has the right to vote.
Right.
One person, one vote. Let's have it out. Let's decide, right? And again, as with a democratic system, majority rules, minority right. Everything will be some sort of compromise.
Yes.
No one side will win everything. And that's how democracy works. But first, let's have democracy.
Yes, and if possible, let's not have Prayut.
All right.
Because there's a reason for that.
Okay,
Just
that's
leave
the
it.
reason. You
In
know I was
case you
about to
think I
close the
hate
show,
him.
right? Let's go.
In case you think I hate him, because people still believe and very much that is very much sensible. Prayut appointed these 250 senates, and they will have to vote against or pass the constitution amendment.
Right.
And that's why majority now of the protesters, every protesters now think Prayut has to get out to pave ways for the constitution amendment.
That's definitely true. And remember when I said almost democracy, given that it's not even an almost democracy, it's a quasi-democracy, which is still better than the dictatorship we had for 4+ years. But we are working towards democracy. Let's have it. Let's everyone be equal under the law, and let's let the people decide the direction of this country. Thank you very much for joining us. And tomorrow night will be somewhere else. I don't know. We will see. Thank you again. Cheers.